Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new to this channel, my name is Alina, I'm an author and I post videos on YouTube about books and writing. Last week I started a series of little videos focusing on a certain side of my marketing and promotion platform, and I started that as a response to a question in my Author's Answer series. But as the question of promoting oneself and your books is a very big one to tackle, I thought I'd just section it off in several videos last week, and I will link to the video in the info bar. Oh, look, I pointed to the right corner. I'm getting better at this. So I will link to last week's video, which dealt with other websites. And today we're talking about newsletters and email marketing. If you've been on my channel for a longer period of time, you might remember that I did a video on email marketing, and I will link that as well in the info bar and in the description down below. I'm not going to rehash everything I mentioned in that video, but I'm going to focus today on how to best use your newsletter, so how to get the most of it. First of all, I recommend starting early on. Like when you launch your website, start a newsletter, or even earlier. If you have a social media account before you get a website, you can still have a newsletter and have a hosted newsletter subscription page. As far as my story goes, I was smart enough to create a newsletter early on. It was part of my website launch, it was there, but I didn't do much with it. I just let it sit there, and years later I had a whooping 150 subscribers, which was bad. So of course my newsletter was just something I had and didn't do anything for me, because there weren't many people subscribed to it. Most of them were friends who wanted to support me from the start, who barely opened any newsletter or never bought anything, because my closest friends, who were my biggest supporters and my beta readers and everything, did buy the books and not through the newsletter. So it was just sitting there and taking space on my website without me doing anything. But this year I decided I'm going to focus on my newsletter and grow it, because everybody told me a newsletter helps. Turns out they were right. So what you want to do is, other than creating your newsletter, try to build it. Don't let it just sit there. And there are several ways you can do that. Of course, everyone will encourage you to offer something free for those who subscribe, like a sort of reward. And this can be a short story, a full first novel in a series, or just a sample of your writing if you haven't yet published anything. Your subscription form for the newsletter should be easy to find and visible on your website. In my case, and I've shown you this photo before, I will re-upload it here. In my case, it's promoted on every page because it's in the sidebar, but it is featured very high up on the page. You don't have to scroll a lot to get to it. It will have an even better placement when the new website is launched. And there is a dedicated newsletter page which I can direct traffic to. So it's advisable to link to this page. You can link from your social media page or posts. You can add it to your back matter. I didn't start with that, but now I do it. At the end of my books there will be a short message. If you want a free taste of more of my writing, why not subscribe to my newsletter? And as you've seen before, I do promote it on my YouTube channel. It's usually in the description of most of my videos, but I sometimes will mention it in my video content as well. And that helps, everything helps. The other thing you can do to grow your newsletter is swap with other authors. The problem with this is that most authors want to promote themselves in newsletters of comparable subscriber numbers, or they have a limit under which they won't go. What I've seen and what I've done is that if you have less than 500 subscribers, I probably won't do that many swaps with you, because I have 2,000 subscribers and I'm looking to grow. Of course, if I had a huge newsletter, I wouldn't care as much and I would like to feature smaller authors, but the spots for those are usually limited. I keep it to 1 or 2, and then I want another 1 or 2 people I featured to have a similar or higher number than me. How you get those numbers? Well, first of all, you have your website and you can promote your newsletter there if you can direct traffic to your website. And then there's Insta Freebie, which I covered quite a bit in my other video, which I certainly suggest you watch. Insta Freebie means you give away a free book and people subscribe to your newsletter to get it. Of course, you can make that subscription optional, but if you're just growing your list, that won't help you much. There's a question of how many people drop off after they've gotten their free book, and I've certainly seen that. I've seen people sign up now and get their book and then unsubscribe like 5 minutes later, which is perfectly fine. They just wanted a free book, and I knew that was a risk. There are people who will unsubscribe on the first newsletter they receive, or the second or the third, but that said, when I compare my open rates and my click rates with the industry standard for media and publishing, I'm doing 2 or 3 times better than they are. So I call that a win. The next thing you have to do, provided you have achieved a level of subscribers and you have done a lot of swaps, is to use the newsletter as a marketing and sales tool, because that's why you build it in the end. To do so, you have to let people know about everything you're doing, like new releases, pre-orders, fun stuff happening in your life, author events. So that means you will need a strategy. This is another thing where I failed terribly in the past. When I decided I wanted to work on my newsletter, I realized I hadn't sent a newsletter in like 6 months. That's awesome. The thing is, you have to be flexible a bit when it comes to your marketing plan for the newsletter, because you might start thinking, oh, I'll just do a newsletter a month, and that might work for a while, but then you have more releases and you have to announce them when they come out, or there's an event happening and you'll have to switch to 2 a month. There will be a bit of backlash to this because people want consistency, and if they signed up for 1 newsletter a month and they get 2, they might be pissed. They might not. It truly depends on each of them. So try to be flexible, but think of the downsides. I recommend not going for more than 1 email a week unless it's really, really important. I've mentioned this in my previous video. Usually people sign up to a lot of newsletters. They won't even read half of them, which is a sad truth, but you're not the only author they subscribe to. Sorry. You're fighting for a bit of attention from your readers. But in the end, you have to weigh the benefits versus the downsides and decide based on that. When I started doing my newsletter, I barely sent an email once a month. Now I do 2 a month, and I know in December I will have to send 3 newsletters, which I warned my subscribers about, and I will try to keep to only 1 newsletter in January. But things like that are going to happen, and if I start publishing more and titles come in the same month, because I am going to submit to some publishers and have my own indie releases and submit to some anthologies, so if they all come out together, I will have to announce them, and there might come a time when I will have to up all of this to a newsletter a week, which I'm kind of terrified of. But if that helps, I'm going to do it. If there's backlash, I'm going to pull back and just do 2 a month and not announce everything when it happens. The thing is that I've always told my newsletter subscribers that they will be the first to find out about things, or among the first people who find out about things. So keeping them in the dark is not the best thing I could do. Whatever you do, however you change, try to have a plan and stick to it, because that will help you quite a bit. My newsletter is my biggest revenue stream whenever I launch new books, so it paid off. It's an important tool to invest in, so try to give it the attention it needs. Other than having a plan, other than working on getting enough subscribers, try to put a little thought in the newsletters you send. Try to let your personality shine through and not turn it into nothing but a sales tool. Share your story with your readers, and that will help a lot. I've seen a lot of newsletters that are riddled with typos and errors, and it just seems sloppy to me. And I know there will be typos because it happens and it's just you doing this and revising, but there's a difference between a small little mistake and a newsletter that looks like you took absolutely no time in cleaning it up and making it the best it could be for your subscribers. So I'd say tread carefully when it comes to this. I know I'm trying my best to have a few hours where I pour over the newsletter and the text and make sure everything is right before I send it. So the way I do it is that I check the previews on the email marketing website I'm using, which in my case is MailerLite. I do send a test email to myself and open it on my computer, because when I get away from the format that I'm used to seeing in MailerLite and go to a different format, which is my own email client, I spot more typos and more issues that need to be addressed. And make sure you check how it's displayed on mobile devices. That's really important. That's about it. In terms of when to send it, I've done a lot of testing in terms of time of day, where to send it, type of subject lines, type of emails, how many links there should be, and I think I've hit a sweet spot. I send my newsletters in late afternoon or early evening, which means late to mid-morning in the US and early afternoon in Europe. I've noticed that it works well when I send newsletters during the week, but sometimes weekends are just as good. It just depends on timing and on what people have going on. Holidays are tough a bit, but if you have a holiday release, you have to promote it. So there's always a downside to it, to every benefit you might think of, but overall it's worth it. So just to round this up, the way I've done my newsletter is to focus on growing it, to make sure my readers get value out of subscribing more than they would from just, following me on social media or coming by my blog once a month. And I try to be consistent and thoughtful when I send newsletters. I try to mingle and swap with authors that are in my genre and people that I admire and who I think bring a lot of value to my newsletter subscribers. And I try not to treat it as a simple sales tool. I try to treat it as a group of people who love my writing and me enough to subscribe. But I always keep in mind that this is a valuable sales tool, which kind of makes me just give it a lot more of my time and attention. I know there are authors who manage without a newsletter and they do just fine. They have enough sales to be happy with it. But for me personally, it's been a lot easier to get the word out about my releases and to get sales since I started having an email going out to my subscribers whenever needed. To be honest, that did way better than having a blog tour for my books, for example. When I mix it all, it's even better, but the newsletter does get a lot more attention than a blog tour would from me. I still send review copies, but that's a different ball game. I think that's an important issue to mention. There are so many marketing and promotion avenues and you will never be able to do them all. It just takes a lot of time. And you have to prioritize. And I prioritize based on what's most useful to me, but also to my readers. And while posting cute pics on Facebook is certainly something fun, them finding out about me and my books on my website or being the first to find out about anything cool that I'm doing through my newsletter is more important and a lot more useful. So that will get a lot more time and effort from me than making sure I post on my personal profile or on my Facebook page all the time. So that's how I do it. That's what I think you should do to get the best out of your newsletter. And now that we've covered my website and my newsletter, I will tell you all about what I do to promote myself through social media and what I think works and what I think you should do. But that will be next week's video. I hope you've enjoyed this and found it useful, and if you did or have more questions, I would love it if you'd let me know in the comments down below. I will also link to my other authors answers videos in the description down below. This is a bit off pattern, but I thought I'd take the time to explain everything I'm doing and hope it helps you. And once I'm done with the social media part as well, I will return to normal authors answer videos. Until then, please like and share if you're feeling inclined to do so. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and if you want to be notified whenever I post new videos, click the notification bell next to the subscribe button, because apparently you have to do that if you want to be notified, because the subscribe button just doesn't work on its own. And I will see you all very soon. I will have a new video for you on Friday. There will be the writing with Sarah on Friday evening, and then the author chat on my channel on Saturday morning US, afternoon Europe. So I will see you a lot again and very soon. Bye!